An instruction on the view of the Mahayana, clarifying the two truths by Patrul Rinpoche. For those who wish to attain liberation, there is both the teaching on what is to be realized and the teaching on how to put this into practice. The teaching on what is to be realized. In this, there are two topics. 1. The natural condition of all noble phenomena in general, and 2. The natural condition of one's own mind. The natural condition of all noble phenomena. This is also divided into two aspects, the relative and the absolute. The relative aspect. Generally speaking, all appearances, from those of the lowest hell of ultimate torment up to, and including the post-meditation experience of bodhisattvas on the 10th bhumi, are relative. Moreover, there are two kinds of relative, the incorrect relative and the correct relative. All that we perceive before we set out on the path belongs to the category of the incorrect relative. When we have reached the stage of aspiring conduct, if we can integrate some realization into our experience, it becomes the correct relative. But whenever we do not, it is the incorrect relative. Once we reach the bhumis, all that appears to the mind is the correct relative, because mere appearances have not yet ceased, and correct because their falsity is seen directly. These appearances continue to rise from the first bhumi until the 10th bhumi, since the age-old habit of perceiving things as real has not yet been abandoned, in the same way that the scent of musk will linger in a container. Eventually, at the level of Buddhahood, when these habitual tendencies have been completely eradicated, there are no dualistic perceptions whatsoever, and one remains exclusively in the ultimate sphere beyond any conceptual elaboration. Clinging to the ordinary world, both the outer environment and the beings within it, as real as the incorrect relative. The antidote to this, such as visualizing everyone as pure deities and the environment as the pure Madala palace, while at the same time considering them to be a mere illusion, is the correct relative. The absolute aspect. In essence, the absolute is the basic space of phenomena, Dharmadhatu, devoid of all conceptual elaboration. In its essence, it is without any divisions, but still it is possible to speak of divisions, according to whether or not this reality has been realized. Thus, there are divisions into the Absolute, which is the basic nature itself, and the Absolute, which is the realization or making evident of this basic nature. Then again, there is the division into the Absolute that is clarified through study and reflection, and the Absolute that is experienced through meditation practice, or the Absolute that is conceptually inferred by ordinary beings, versus the Absolute that is experienced directly by noble beings. There is also a division into the conceptual Absolute, and the Absolute that is beyond conceptualization. There are three ways in which we can experience these two truths. 1. At the stage of ordinary beings, appearances are regarded as inherently real and are perceived with grasping. This is called the incorrect relative. 2. At the stage of noble beings, appearances are realized to be deceptive and are perceived without any grasping. This is called the correct relative. 3. At the stage of Buddhahood, there are no ordinary appearances or non-appearances whatsoever, and any concerns about grasping or non-grasping no longer apply. This is called the Absolute. To put it another way, the first stage has both appearance and grasping. The middle stage has mere appearance without grasping, and at the final stage there is neither appearance nor grasping. These three stages are also known as misknowledge, knowledge of understanding the relative and knowledge of understanding the absolute. In the case of ordinary beings, the wisdom of understanding the relative depends on analysis, but for noble beings it is achieved through direct perception. Although conventional notions, such as understanding or not understanding, do not apply to the absolute space of reality itself, we can still use terms like understanding or realizing to refer to the recognition of this state. Ultimately, we need to realize the indivisibility of the two truths, but claiming that the relative refers to existence, while on the absolute level things do not exist, will never qualify as a view of the middle way. When we realize the one genuine nature of the correct relative, the two truths will merge inseparably beyond the conceptual extremes of existing, not existing, permanence, and nothingness. As the Mother Prajnaparamita says, the real nature of the relative is the real nature of the absolute. The division into the two truths is only a provisional device, based on the distinct perspectives of two states of mind, that is made in order to facilitate understanding. All the various entities which appear to a confused state of mind are labeled relative, whereas absolute refers to a state of mind in which confusion has come to an end, and in which there is not even the slightest trace of any conceptual focus, even towards non-existence itself, as it is said, when the notions of real and unreal are absent from before the mind, there is no other possibility but to rest in total peace, beyond concepts. In reality, within the great non-conceptual simplicity of the absolute sphere, the ultimate nature that is to be understood, there is no basis for making any distinction between two levels of reality, and so there is no such division. In the final realization of Buddhahood, too, there is no division into two levels of truth. Even the delusory appearances we experience right now are not comprised of two distinct levels of reality. They are simply the inseparable unity of appearance and emptiness, or awareness and emptiness. Realization or complete understanding of this is the wisdom mind of a Buddha, the non-dual pristine awareness of reality itself. By understanding the two truths individually, eventually they will merge together in an inseparable union, and this is what we call the non-dual wisdom of unity, or non-abiding nirvana, and so on. The natural condition of one's own mind. Although we may understand the natural condition of all noble phenomena in this way, if we do not understand the natural condition of the knowing subject, which is our own mind, all phenomena will remain objects of knowledge, and this will not serve as an antidote to our mental afflictions. In fact, this realization itself will become a cause for feeling arrogant and conceited, and only serve to reinforce our sense of a personal self. This is why we need to recognize the actual nature of the one who has the realization that intellect, mind, or consciousness. There are two aspects to this. 1. gaining provisional understanding in terms of the two truths, and 2. Gaining ultimate understanding in which the truths are inseparable. The provisional understanding in terms of the two truths. When we understand the natural condition of phenomena in general, and realize that they are similar to an illusion on the relative level because they appear, although they are not truly existent. Whereas they are like space on the absolute level, because they cannot be established as existent or non-existent. And we also understand that ultimately the truths are inseparable within the Great Middle Way. The absolute space of reality beyond all conceptual extremes. The mind or awareness that has this understanding is relative, as Santideva said. The absolute lies beyond the reach of the intellect, for the mind is only relative, it is taught. An intellectual mind that has this kind of understanding can become arrogant and conceited. This kind of arrogance and conceit are the agencies of Mara and will only spoil our understanding. As the sutra revealing the inconceivable realm of the Buddhas says, so-called attainment is transient indeed, and so-called realization is arrogant assumption. Transient or arrogant assumption, it must be the work of Mara. They are extremely arrogant who think, I have attained this, or say to themselves, I have understood completely. The nature of the relative mind, which understands, is the absolute. If we look into the very nature of the awareness or mind or intellect which understands, we cannot find anything real or substantial at all. In fact, it has always been devoid of existence and non-existence, devoid of rising and ceasing, devoid of coming and going, devoid of permanence and nothingness, devoid of past, present, or future, and therefore it is absolute reality itself. The sutra requested by Kasyapa says, mind is not to be found within, nor does it exist outside, and it cannot be observed anywhere else. The sutra requested by Maitreya says, mind has no shape, no color, and no location, it is like space. The ultimate understanding in which the truths are inseparable. In the mind's ultimate nature, the two truths are inseparable. The application of the two truths to the single nature of the mind is nothing more than a provisional use of labels or terminology. There is no ordinary mind within the ground, or absolute space of reality, so there is no basis upon which the two truths could be applied. Nor is there any ordinary mind at the fruition, the wisdom mind of Buddhahood, so that it cannot be labeled in terms of the truths. Even in the clarity and emptiness, which is the nature of the minds of confused sentient beings, we cannot find this distinction, because there is only clear awareness and emptiness. This is why we must realize how the two truths are inseparable. Even so, because the inseparability of the two truths can only be realized once we have understood the characteristics of each individually, there is still a purpose to making the twofold division. In this way, the non-conceptual simplicity, that is the natural condition of what is to be known, merges indivisibly with the non-conceptual simplicity of the natural condition of mind. Within this experience, which is devoid of any notion of an individual self or phenomenal identity, all outer and inner phenomena are seen to be like uncreated space, free from any kind of conceptual construct, such as existing. not existing, being permanent or nothingness, and so on. And yet the experience is beyond the duality of something seen and one who sees, or something realized and one who realizes. Therefore it is perfect and mistaken realization. The teaching on how to put this into practice. This section has two parts. The direct practice for those with the sharpest faculties. Those who have gathered the two accumulations in the past, and who have profoundly good karma and good fortune, and gain realization merely by receiving instructions on the two truths. In their case, simply to sustain the continuity of this recognition sufficient in their meditative equipoise, which is devoid of the duality of knowing and something known, and is beyond any notion of a self. They will meditate in a space-like way without any conceptual elaborations related to the two truths. When practicing meditation like this, there are no negative thoughts to be cleared away and no positive states of mind to be focused upon, as Lord Maitreya says. In this there is not a thing to be removed, nor the slightest thing to be added. It is looking perfectly into reality itself, and when reality is seen, complete liberation. Following this, in the post-meditation period, one maintains the dreamlike experience of the unity of the two truths by recognizing how all that is perceived appears, while lacking any true reality. At the same time, with illusory bodhicitta, love and compassion for all illusory dreamlike beings who have not realized this, one gathers the two illusory accumulations and makes vast prayers of aspiration for their benefit. The gradual practice for those with duller faculties. Those with duller faculties need to train in gradual stages, beginning with the 4 contemplations that turn the mind away from samsara. Unless they proceed this way, they will never go beyond conceptual ideas about profound realization. It is said, all our thoughts and perceptions are relative. The realization of their nature is the absolute. The mind which realizes this is the relative. Mind's absence of true reality is the absolute. The terms signifying the two truths are relative. The absence of true reality in such terms is the absolute. The non-duality of these is the union of the two truths in the nature of what is known and the Buddha's wisdom mind. Even the unity of the two truths cannot be observed. And so it is called the absolute space beyond elaboration. Therein the self of the individual or of phenomena cannot be found. Realization of this is the view. To abide by it is meditation. To gather the accumulations out of a compassionate concern for others is action. The dissolution of dualistic perception within basic space is the fruition. Wisdom pervading everywhere represents enlightened qualities, and naturally bringing about the benefit of others is enlightened activity. Without clinging to words and labels, as if they were the meaning itself, direct the mind instead to the meaning that words merely point towards. The actual mind, which is the experiencer of phenomena, is devoid of any true reality, and so, in reference to this, we say that there is no self, no sentient being, no individual, no agent, and so on. When we say no or non-existent in this context, it signifies that an existence cannot be established. Yet, since an existence cannot be established, non-existence cannot be established either, and so the term no signifies the non-establishment of both existence and non-existence. This consciousness that perceives its object is not dependent on the sense faculties, it does not originate from objects, and it does not remain somewhere in between. It exists neither internally nor externally. When it arises, it does not come from anywhere, and when it ceases, it does not go anywhere. It is empty as it originates, and empty as it ceases to be. This is how it is described. In the sutras, for example, we find statements like this: in that perfect seeing no phenomena whatsoever will appear. And the Mother Prajnaparamita says, conceptualization is involvement with the desire realm, form realm, or formless realm, but non-conceptualization is not associated with any of them at all. A sutra says, when no activity whatsoever is performed, that is what is called yogic action. And, therefore, sustaining the ordinary state free from any dharmas is the supreme dharma. A sutra says, what is the supreme dharma? It is the absence of any notion of dharmas. The Mother Prajnaparamita says, since no awakening can be observed, awakening is just a name. Since no Buddhahood can be observed, it too is but a name. The realization that there is nothing in the space-like natural condition of all phenomena, which could be the object of consciousness or wisdom, is the view. Remaining with that recognition in the manner of non-remaining is the meditation, and the post-meditation, to gather the illusory accumulation of merit for the sake of illusory sentient beings, is the action. The dissolution of mind's illusory perceptions within basic space is the ultimate fruition. The basic space of phenomena is beyond conceptual elaboration and inexpressible by speech or thought. In this, there is not the knowing of some object to be known. Yet, still, there is said to be the practice of view and meditation, like space viewing space or the sky meditating upon itself. In genuine reality, there is no mind and no appearances, but saying no indicates that even the dichotomy of existence and non-existence is transcended. It is said that not fearing the profound meaning of emptiness, but feeling inspired by it is the sign of a fortunate being who has heard and trained in the teachings before and is destined to swiftly reach awakening. Reality itself, sky-like basic space, free from any thought, when it is realized in a state of primal wisdom beyond expression, is fundamental equality, free from speculation or deliberate activity. This is the wisdom mind of the Buddhas of the three times. The absolute, the nature of reality itself, is like the child of a barren woman. Nothing can manifest or appear. It is simply a state of the most fundamental ordinariness. To experience the conditioned phenomena of the relative, magical appearances of unity, without accepting or rejecting them, and without attachment, is to take the wisdom mind of the Buddhas into experience. Until you reach this level of mental mastery and attainment, renounce any attachment to material possessions and keep to isolated forests and retreats, like a wild deer. This is how to remain on the path without ever falling back. Remain without joy or sorrow, attachment or aversion, and so on. Towards all circumstances, outer and inner, favorable and unfavorable, and every experience will assist you greatly on your path. This is how to find stable realization into the unborn nature of phenomena, when the wisdom of realizing the sky-like nature of mind and the compassion of not forsaking illusory sentient beings are brought together in concomitant view and activity, great non-abiding primal wisdom will swiftly be attained. The Nirvana Sutra says, emptiness means perceiving neither empty nor non-empty. The natural radiance of emptiness can appear as anything at all. Since it is empty as it appears, appearance and emptiness are a unity. This can only be known by looking inwards. It is within the domain of your own self-knowing awareness wisdom. Magic Labdrön said, when nothing whatsoever is conceptualized, how could you possibly go astray, annihilate your conceptions, and rest? And since mind is not a duality, look as if there is nothing to be looked at. This mind of ours is not seen by any looking. Mind's very nature is not realized by being seen. In fact, there is not the tiniest fraction of something to be looked at. The nature of mind, empty and clear and beyond conceptual focus, is the genuine fundamental condition, since this pure awareness, free from conceptual constructs and impossible to pinpoint, rises unceasingly as the illusory appearances that are its basic expression. We must put all our trust in this state beyond clinging. This state in which there is no separation between meditation and post-meditation, and in which clarity and emptiness are a unity, and take it to heart through practice. Written by Patrul Rinpoche.